You're now watching a clip from the Inspired by show. You can watch the full episode on our YouTube channel or listen on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to head over there, leave us a 5-star rating if you enjoyed it, and follow the show. I've heard a lot from my studies and my research that people, when they've been in an abusive cycle or relationship once, they tend to attract it again. What's your thoughts on that, and what have you experienced of that?
Yeah, so I'm keen to help with a project that I'm working on at the moment, which is to offer more of a holistic approach to support the much needed services that are out there at the moment. But we're spending something like £23 billion a year on domestic violence, and that's the first responders and the judiciary. You've got the health sector, and you've got counselling, etc. But there's very little that is out there mainstream to help with breaking those patterns, those cycles of deprivation. And that's because we don't really talk about that enough. They talk about all the orthodox means, the logical means and the safety precautions, but there's not really a lot out there to help people to overcome these challenges, which are deeply embedded. These traumas sit in the subconscious. And I didn't ask to get involved in this. It just naturally happened that I started gravitating towards clients who are asking for this kind of help. And they this is how we're going to break the pattern so that they don't pass on to our children. And that's how we stop these cycles keep moving down through generation to generation.
Yeah. And do you know what? One of the things I find fascinating about this, and Amanda, one of the reasons we're having this conversation was you've actively listened to the show and watched the show. And I remember once you messaged me and you were like, oh my gosh, that person you had on, your guest, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason we started talking, and here we are now. And I think it's fascinating because a lot of people feel ashamed to talk about it. But what I've learned from running this show for as long as I have is so many people have experienced it. Everyone's had some sort of challenge. It doesn't have to be abuse. It could be any sort of challenge, but a lot of it goes through the cycles. A lot of it goes through generations, and I find it really inspiring that you're not only talking about it, but you're also helping others through it. So what have been the things that you've sort of learned yourself coming out of it, and how did you break that cycle yourself?
Well, I'm nearly 57, and I think the most of the emphasis that I put in my work is because I'm very passionate about it. But also working in this environment, I'm still learning and I'm still processing and I'm still helping people because of how I'm experiencing it myself. So I'll always be an experiencer, and then I can translate that into how to help others. So I guess there's always going to be, for me personally, a level of people or level of control, because I've always attracted that. I've attracted a lot of obsessives. I've had harassment orders put out there so that I can stop stalkers, and I've had that several times. And it's just the energy that we give off. And then I realize at a certain level that if we are empathetic or we are very open, we can be vulnerable. It's how we create those boundaries. So I think what I have learned is saying no to bad behaviour, but setting those boundaries so that we don't go back into situations like that. And also there are some fantastic courses out there, as well as the counselling, but like the programs that Women's Aid put out there to help people to break free, so that they understand about the red flags. But I think most of the stuff that's going on is subtle, and we're not aware of it. It's like wearing, putting on underwear in the morning and you can't remember what colour you've put on because of the clothes you're wearing during the day. And that's the thing. If it's hidden, we can't see it, and we've got to be aware of it. And it's about having healthy habits set in place, foundations, so that we don't cross those boundaries, because that's what we call our Achilles heel. It's our powerhouse. It's our super strength when we're open and loving and giving. But we can get taken advantage of if we allow people to cross those boundaries.
How did you learn that was a boundary that people were crossing with you? Like, how did you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, this is actually abuse and I'm being abused at this point.
Yeah, it's very subtle, and most people will say that with narcissism, especially when we're in relationships where we are, we love that person and we just want the best for them, and we want, we make excuses. Oh, it's okay. He's working hard. He's stressed. This has happened. It's recognizing that something is challenging us, and that either our physical health is out of alignment, our mental or emotional health is out of alignment, or there's something spiritually that is blocked. And it's stepping back from situations and saying to ourselves, well, what's going on for me? Is it my relationship, or is there something else? And more often than not, it tends to be that when we have to question that, that's because we have been compromising for too long, and we've been overlooking that which is staring us blatantly in the face, but we don't really want to face up to it because we know it's going to be tough. And of course it's going to be tough. That's why we stay. That's why we keep on trying to make it better, because we don't want to be uncomfortable. We don't want to make that person uncomfortable. And most of the time people are appeasing the monster. So why would we want to expose ourselves and make ourselves even more vulnerable? But there is a way. There is a very subtle way that we can actually start taking our power back, which disconnects us from the power that somebody else has over us, until eventually we've built our power so much that we've just transitioned gently. We just segued out of that, and our life has suddenly transformed into something different.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I guess that feels amazing. It sounds amazing now, but I imagine for someone going through it, it's almost unbelievable, right?
Yeah. I mean, I remember at one point when I was so afraid of going outside, I would crawl on my hands and knees. I would have the curtains closed. We used to have the police coming to I lived in a little flat in London then, to protect myself and my grandmother. And we went through that for pretty much 3 years. It was absolutely terrifying. I wouldn't go out. If I did go out, then I got taxis, but then I used to get found. It was just horrendous. So I just did anything I could to protect myself. But when you protect yourself, you live in fear. And if you live in fear, you attract more fear. And that's why that cycle of deprivation keeps playing out. When you start to take your power back, you start to find subtle messages that tell you how to find the opportunities to get out of these situations. You attract the right people. You get the right support network. And I'm aware of this at the moment because I'm talking to women who are going through very similar situations that I've been through. And they said, well, how did you manage to find the help there? And how did you get involved in that charity? And how did this person manage to help you? It's all down to your mindset. It's not that you have to change your mindset completely because you're not in alignment, haven't got the right mental attitude. It is literally about alignment. And if you get yourself into the right alignment, suddenly the signal, it's like having your Wi-Fi on properly. If you haven't got your Wi-Fi on properly, how on earth are you going to attract what you need? So I think that's it. This is all about alignment. And when you're in alignment, you get the help you need to change your life.